The quality of life of being a servant who does not dream of becoming a master. A friend of mine recently returned from Italy and shared an interesting story with me about an incident on the plane. During the flight, an elderly lady became insistent on opening the middle plane door in order to use the restroom, causing much panic among the other passengers. I mention this example because it is representative of our society. While we hope for good results politically and macroeconomically, the reality is that the vast majority of us are unfortunately intellectually limited, at least in terms of financial and political efficiency. Our political class is representative of our society as a whole, and the percentage of incompetence reflects the majority of Romanians who are not very skilled in any particular area. What's worse, many of us aren't even aware that we should be striving for excellence. As a famous scientist once said, the definition of stupidity is expecting different results when you keep repeating the same actions. We've been begging from others for hundreds of years and we still continue to do so. However, we haven't learned that the masters, from their position of superiority, accept us and use us as servants without any respect for us. Honestly, I could not care less about how they view us. They only care about what might happen to us, similar to how a master might care about their servant. They don't want to lose us even if we are mediocre. However, they don't want us to have the audacity to ask for our rightful place at the table or request a raise. But let them express their gratitude for what they are given and not complain. This ensures that the politicians selected to govern us are representative of this type of servant. They are expected to put their heads down, literally and figuratively, shut up and do exactly what they are told to do. They are expected to wag their tails in happiness when they are given a hat, to believe only what they're told and bark at others when asked to do so. Now they are upset that education unions are requesting a raise. They have been told that education shouldn't be improved, neither in quality nor quantity. The masters view it as dangerous for a servant to be well educated, as it can make them realize their own limitations and even consider pursuing other career paths instead of just obediently saying yes, boss. Therefore, they have received explicit orders not to encourage education in the country, yet some unions have defied these orders. Unfortunately, they cannot be punished as the magistrates can, nor can they go on strike like doctors, make arrests like police officers, or block the roads like transporters. This is because teachers are educated and believe in principles. They believe that they are listened to, respected, and have rights. They lack the ability and mental strength to understand that in reality, their education, common sense, and pacifist nature are flaws that have remained consistent throughout history. However, perhaps there was less hypocrisy in the past. Effectively, in the past, whether it was a king, emperor, or any leader, they could simply order you to be quiet. You had no rights in their presence, and you were aware of this. Nowadays, people deceive themselves into thinking that things have improved, and that we now have rights. Admittedly, things have progressed, but at the macro level, the system is the same. If you're in their way, they'll step on you. At this point, it doesn't even bother you anymore. Teachers are unable to be strong, hence they are trampled on, or worse, blamed for their troubles. Communication experts will intervene and persuade the public that teachers are the problem. They will buy the loyalty of key teachers, who will then convince others to stop protesting and withdraw. This will be done in the name of serving Romania's greater good. The leaders of Romania, acting as waiters, will then report to the masters that in 15 to 20 years, there will be a steady supply of people to pick their strawberries and asparagus. It's rather disheartening to come to the realization that change may not be possible, even if certain conditions are met. What if we were to elect politicians who are honorable and able to negotiate rather than just obey orders? Politicians who would base their temporary alliances solely on objective financial arguments rather than personal loyalties. True, loyalty may be seen as a geopolitical shortcoming only in theory, however, in practice, those who know the game don't consider loyalty at all. They know how to appraise things solely based on their interests, such as assessing the military and economic risks, both short and long term, of each decision. What are the costs? It's just an objective evaluation and not subjective. If love for their country were combined with mathematical expertise, then they would know what actions to take and how to do so. But can we even find these kinds of politicians to lead us? The answer, unfortunately, is no. There are zero possibilities of this happening. From the master's standpoint, democratic systems are the easiest to manipulate. Strategically, the plan is to erode their principles and educational foundations gradually over the long term. Eliminate religious values, a sense of patriotism, and a united family, while pushing the country deep into debt with exorbitant interest rates. In the medium term, tactically, it's necessary to keep them in a constant state of financial strain. But not too much so that they feel they have nothing to lose otherwise, they may want to demand changes. It's better to keep their standards just below the average but still perceived as acceptable. Thanks to the power of communication and media, you can also suggest subliminally or directly that things could always be worse. We can see what happened in Ukraine when the leader was not a good servant. We are now trying to save the country, but in the future, we must be more careful. It's important to make sure that the main servants are well corrupted, particularly those at the top who are responsible for governing the country and tasked with corrupting everyone else beneath them. Under the current conditions, there's no possibility to reform the political class because they're too easy to manipulate, just like the masters do. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. Whatever actions we may take, the masters will anticipate and prepare a counterattack, making it impossible to make progress. It's like playing chess with a master when you're a beginner. Do you really think you can surprise them? The solution, therefore, is not to try and surprise them but to acknowledge the system's limitations and work within them to make small, incremental changes over time. It may not be the ideal solution, but it's the only realistic one. It's regrettable, but there is nothing much we can do to overcome the manipulation of the masters. The best we can do is to strive to become better and more educated, including in political and financial matters. We need to separate our emotions, thoughts, and actions, especially when it comes to personal and financial/political affairs. We should use our minds for financial and political issues, while the heart guides us in our personal relationships. That's all we can do for now. If we upset the masters, they will surely punish us. However, we should still aim to be respectable servants. That must be our next objective if we can't do more. Perhaps someday, we will be able to open our own ventures, so we won't need bosses or subordinates, only collaborators or partners.